Good afternoon, everybody. I am Captain Ian Carr of the Salvation Army of Bartlesville, and I hope you're all doing well on this afternoon, on this Wednesday afternoon, and staying healthy and staying safe during this time. I was preparing for our Wednesday night Bible study, which we start at 6 tonight on our YouTube page, and was reading through Hebrews. We're looking at chapter 12 tonight, and was just kind of struck with this concept and this verse, and wanted to bring it to you as a word of encouragement this afternoon, and hopefully give you a bit of a challenge for something to do in your spare time, as we all seem to have some of it nowadays, whether we want it or not. And so we're looking at Hebrews chapter 12 right now. Hebrews chapter 12 picks up right after Hebrews chapter 11, where the author goes through all of these heroes of the Old Testament, everybody from Abel to Rahab, and even summarizes in a handful of verses just a bunch of others he could have spoken about. And so he picks up and says, therefore, since we have also such a great cloud of witnesses surrounding us, talking about the witnesses that he listed, all the people he listed in chapter 11, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily ensnares us, and run with endurance the race that lies before us. Something I'm sure many of us have heard before. It's a very, very common verse, and it talks about a lot of encouraging things. But one thing I wanted to point out is that the author describes two things that make the race more difficult to run. He talks about the sin that ensnares and entangles us. And really, in a way, the sin is what stops us from running the race. It drags us down to the point where we just can't deal with it anymore. And so we succumb to it. But that's not really what I want to talk about right now. The other thing the author talks about is these things that slow us down and hinder us. The author says, let us put off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. These are two different things. You see, for a lot of Christians, they weigh things sometimes, hopefully at the very least, as what can be in their life is either sinful or not sinful. If it's classified as sinful in the Bible, then it's not part of their life. And if it's not classified as sinful, then it must be not sinful and therefore okay to be a part of their life. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. It could be, but not a lot of us take time to evaluate the breadth of things that are not good for us. And the author of Hebrews makes it clear that there is more than just sinful things that are making it difficult to run this race. You see, he sets up this picture of this cloud of witnesses cheering us on, explaining to us as we run a race. And it's very important to recognize that we need to be running the race, not kind of moseying along. We'll get to the finish line eventually. You want to get there fast, and you want to bring as many people along with you. In order to run a race quickly, you not only have to remove any obstacles, so you have a track that you're running down, and you know that track is good to run on. You have to know what's coming ahead of you, keeping your eye fixed on that track. But you also need to make sure you're wearing the right equipment, have the right clothes on, and nothing extra. Even the smallest amount of weight can mean a different place for you in this race. And so I think what the author is saying is that there are things in our life that may not be inherently bad or inherently sinful, but he doesn't even leave time to answer that question. And the beauty of this verse is that you don't, as a person, have the opportunity to even evaluate whether it's good for you or not. What he's saying is, ask the question of, do the things in my life help me win the race? Good or bad, do they help me win the race? Well, if you have a hobby or something that you like to do and it consumes a lot of your time, it may not be a sinful thing. If you enjoy woodworking, for example, woodworking isn't bad. Jesus was a carpenter. But it did not consume all of his day. And if woodworking is all that you do, well, it has become a problem now. And you're no longer focused on the kingdom. And so you have to learn to put that aside. And so there are things that are completely innocent, not sinful, not inherently bad for us. But if it's not helping us win the race, we need to remove them from our life. During this time, you may be stuck indoors, stuck at home for the majority of the day. Maybe you're going to the office, but then you have to go right home, and that's kind of it. And I realize that it can drive you stir crazy and make us all a little edgy. So here's a small thing you can do to fill a couple minutes at least, hopefully more than that. Evaluate where your time goes throughout the week. Maybe you have to do this based on what your routine was before all this happened. But begin to evaluate what is in your day-to-day routine. Is it helping you win the race? We'll talk more about what that race is during Bible study and some upcoming church services. But for right now, if there are things that are distracting you, that are hindering you from running the race as effectively and quickly as possible, you need to eliminate those. So take advantage of this time, take this opportunity, find out what that is, and start to work them out of your life. Maybe you need to ask some people around you whether or not this is good or this is something that you should remove. Find somebody that you can trust to give you that counsel. Don't look for somebody just to tell you, yes, it's fine, you can keep it. But find somebody you trust to help you with this list if you need it. Measure it against the Word, cover it in prayer, and you will come out this time a more refined Christian. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you join us tonight at 6 o'clock on the Bartlesville Salvation Army YouTube page. Thanks.